Alrighty, what's up, guys? Welcome to the final episode of Urban ENT Alumni, the podcast. And don't think we're going away. We actually have some news for you. But before we start, my name is Drew.
My name is Dolo Deuce Duke. I'm gonna go ahead and hold on. Can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah, I can hear
What the hell? My name is Dolo Deuce Duke.
you. All right, so that's me and Dolo, and Akeen is out there somewhere trying to stay warm. Hopefully, it's negative 18 degrees out here in Minneapolis right now. Anthony's lucky he's out there in the 70-degree weather on the West Coast. But like I said, this is the last episode we are going to do under the ENT title. Obviously, that was our organization that we all became friends back in college in St. Cloud. But we're kind of closing that chapter, and we're going to start a new show, basically just a rebrand. But we're gonna have all that out for you on a few different platforms that we're going to work on. So exciting stuff. Same kind of content. We're just kind of rebranding. So this is the last ENT alumni podcast per se. But we're gonna end it with a bang. We got some good topics. Hopefully, Akeem shows up, and then we'll get into the new details for the new show coming soon. So with that, I guess we can jump into topics. So Anthony, what do you got today?
Man. All right, so I just thought about this, man. So it's nothing too big. I was hoping the king would come, but the impact of basically the impact of trolling. You know,
Okay.
I kind of wanted to talk on the topic of like 6ix9ine. And the thing that kind of sparked it was J. Cole's verse in a lot when he said, "Pray for Takashi. They want him to rot. Something sitting in a box. Something. I bet he's sitting there thinking, wondering if it was worth it or not, right?" And it got me to
Yep.
thinking, like, everything that he did, which was necessary to kind of get him to where he was, get people to listen to his music and all of that stuff, is also the same antics that ended him up in jail. So like I just kind of want to talk about like the things outside of music people have to almost subscribe to doing to get them popular nowadays, you know.
Yeah, I guess just to kind of start it off, I think this is a very relevant topic, especially with the whole 6ix9ine situation. Obviously, the way that his story, it's a rise and a fall kind of a story, and it did come from trolling in both scenarios. Like he got famous from going at people with on social media and whatever, and in person, and kind of just being reckless online and things like that. He created a character and a brand as like a hip hop villain, and it got him popular. And that's how a lot of guys, that's the blueprint for success nowadays for some artists. But it's not necessarily a new thing. Artists in the past, before social media and before the internet was a platform, they would troll in a different way. Trolling wasn't the term back then, but obviously there were more, beefs that got personal. Street politics got involved, and it wasn't music anymore, things like that. But now, we see this quite a bit. And when you look, I think when we look back maybe 10 years from now on like this era of hip hop, 6ix9ine is going to be a part of that history of, this was an example of someone who had it all, came up, and then what put him on was actually his downfall. So it's kind of interesting in that J. Cole verse that you mentioned, when he said, "Is it all worth it?" Thinking about Tekashi 6ix9ine, it's sad because I don't think it was, people may disagree. I don't think it was necessarily worth it because, he's going to spend probably the next majority of his life, if not the rest of his life, behind bars. Other people might say, it's like, maybe it's like a Tony Montana thing. Like he had the world and then it was worth it because he came from nothing or whatever. I don't know. What's your take on that?
Well, yeah, I mean, I definitely agree because for the most part, I try to think about if I were to be in that situation, how I would take it. And like, well, he reached like a peak, you know what I'm saying? Like there was a time where he was like doing doing crazy screaming numbers. He made the top of the Billboard charts a lot. He was able to make some of the toughest people in the game like look weak. Not necessarily by out punking them, just by out trolling them, you know. And the thing is, you know, there's got to be a certain amount of legacy that people are gonna hold on to, you know. He's away in jail now. He may stay there for the rest of his life, but people are always going to remember 6ix9ine. So it depends on how he values that. Now, being locked up in jail, I think that's stupid. I think, you know, I wouldn't want to be locked up in jail for the rest of my life. But, like, I don't know what's going through 6ix9ine's head. Does he actually think that it was worth it? And, like, for a large majority of people that came from the same place he came from, I think it is worth it because, like, there's people in the hood that go around, you know, killing people, right? Go to jail, they go to prison for the rest of their lives. And not saying that they think that it's worth it, but they do it for the credibility, you know, like it's any kind of ranking that leaves their legacy in the world. They just got to take the opportunity, and it's a really desperate situation. So.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that point you made about, you know, I think a lot of his fans, especially more of his like street audience, you know, they might come from a similar background that he came from, and it is absolutely worth it because he was the hottest guy out for an extended period of time. He was, you know, arguably probably the biggest name either in the headlines or streaming or whatever, but he was on top of he made his impact very fast in the hip hop game. Maybe that's worth it because some people just don't have the opportunity to get out of their situation, which is it's hard, but that's the reality for a lot of people. So they would die or do anything to get, you know, 15 minutes of fame like that. But you know, he solidified a place in history, maybe even if it is looked at for the wrong reason, or a rise and a fall, or maybe even a warning story for future artists, you know, that it's, you know, hey, maybe you don't want to end up like this. It depends on how you look at it. But then again, you know, the other maybe X% of his fan base, maybe they're just, you know, the younger audience, the teenagers that are maybe a little more well off, and they just, you know, thought the clowning on the internet was funny. They didn't really understand the depths of this. It's a very serious situation what he's gotten himself into. So it's definitely interesting, and I think it depends on the background of who you are as a fan, because I'm sure he has diverse fans, on how you interpret this situation. Like, yeah, is it all worth it? Maybe if your background is something that you have a hard time escaping, or maybe you just don't really understand and you're ignorant to the situation. So you're like, oh, why would he do that? You know, he's not smart. But other people are like, absolutely, like it was worth it.
And this is the thing when it comes to 6ix9ine, because his situation is so particular, because he used trolling, you know, and that's how he got on. He got into prison, got into all of this trouble because, you know, he was trolling about this gangster persona that he was trying to, you know, portray, and everybody bought it, right? And then it's crazy to think because there's many methods that artists use. If we take it a couple of years earlier, we have the Bobby Shmurda. He didn't. His method wasn't trolling. His method, I think, I would kind of call it memeing. Like he was a meme, or he was a Vine before he was, you know, Bobby Shmurda. And it still got him in trouble because the thing that he was vining was, you know, name dropping all of the people who were involved in actual crimes and all of this stuff. You know, it's like it's almost a harder bullet to bite because, like, Bobby Shmurda, it seemed like he wasn't trying to troll anybody, you know, at a point. And I just find it interesting that those are the tactics. And for two such similar artists, there's a lot of differences, but there's some similarities. They both come from New York, and they both are like in the Brooklyn area. And they came up off some pretty just like one hot songs. And then they both ended up in jail. So they have their similarities and very similar stories, but there are different methods that they use. It was very interesting to see how it unfolded. And then the other thing I would say is like, you know, because X, he had his world of trolling as well, due to the way when he was first making music, it was just distorted. But once he got famous off of Look at Me and Drake kind of took his style, then he started trolling Drake, and then that's when he got like major exposure. But that wasn't trolling in the way that 6ix9ine was. 6ix9ine was trolling to troll, while X was trolling to almost get the rights back to his song almost. So it's interesting to see the differences and the similarities between these different methods. So
Yeah, and I kind of agree, like with those three names that we just looked at, X, 6ix9ine, and Bobby Shmurda. They each had their situation with social media that landed them in, obviously one's in jail, one's dead, and the other one's getting out of jail eventually, but he's been there for a while. So what it kind of boils down to, I think, is that like I feel like for artists, especially nowadays, especially these younger artists, like social media promotion, marketing, it's kind of inevitable. You have to use it if you want to get on and stay on. That's how you need to grow your following. But there's,
word up, follow me on TikTok.
hey, that's Dolo Deuce Duke. Go follow him on everything. But yeah, like it's inevitable and it's unavoidable. Like you need to grow your fan base that way, especially in the rap game today. But I feel like they took it to the extreme. Like they were almost exaggerations of this era. I feel like not every single artist needs to troll to get on. They just, I feel like they're the exaggerations of like the possibility of what you can do. It's a powerful platform. There's, Instagram and SoundCloud and whatever it is. They're powerful platforms because they're so global that you can be connected to the whole world in less than a second. And you really got to be careful because it's there forever. These guys got in trouble, obviously. They pissed off the wrong people. They said some things that got them in legal hot water, whatever it was. But at the end of the day, their stuff was promoted and they had their moment. It didn't end well, and that's why I say they're kind of exaggerations. There are the right ways to do it. Some people might disagree and say you have to be that extreme, but it's just kind of inevitable how you have to use it.
No, and I agree with everything you said. And I think the sad part about it is the generations before, they kind of breeded this attitude of all publicity is good publicity. That was EVE's saying. And it was something that I actually kind of like took to heart because it makes sense, to get exposure, whether it be fame or infamy, is exposure at the end of it all. So like NWA, you could say they were very early trollers of like the FBI and the LAPD, right? All that kind of stuff.
Right.
Which eventually breeds, people like, you can say like the early Cash Money, they were trollers of people who didn't have a lot of money, or you could say like, 50 Cent, when he first came on, he was beefing with literally everybody that he damn near could. As a generation looking up to these guys, beef sells. Everybody knows that beef sells. If I beef with somebody right now as a nobody, I can get on if I get him to respond to me. You know what I'm saying?
You should go at Drake because your album's coming out in 2 days.
I don't want it with Drake though. I ain't gonna sit here and lie to you. I don't want it with Drake. Maybe I should come at
Go at Soulja Boy.
You know what? I'm coming at JID, man.
Okay. Yeah.
I feel like I could out rap him, man. I ain't gonna lie.
I think you could, honestly. Like he can rap, but like he's not the only guy that can do what he does.
You know who I'm coming at actually? I'm coming at Tory Lanez.
Okay. Tory Lanez. Yeah.
Because he think he's so hot, but he cool, but like he's overrated. He's overrating himself. So like I'm coming at Tory Lanez. Got a diss track coming.
Yeah, go at Tory. That'd be cool. If he actually if he responded or something.
I'll tag him in it and everything, man. See what he thinks. On some Kendrick Control type shit, man. I'm not trying to, make these dudes hate me, but like I'll diss these guys. They ain't nothing.
It's like a Control verse. You're just going at them like sparring.
Maybe I think about it, man. But I do say all of that to say like, we breeded, or the generation before really breeded these guys to you know, take this to a new level because now with social media, where the label isn't backing the beef, we can make an ass of ourselves now, and that's just exactly what 6ix9ine did, because at least before, as much as I may not like him, Jerry Heller probably got in Easy's ears like, hey, getting at the FBI is cool, but to an extent, chill. And depending on how Easy was feeling, he probably listened, he probably didn't. Who was in 6ix9ine's ear? You know what I'm saying? He wasn't signed. Well, he was signed to a label, but not in a way that they dictated like his whole entire like career. His Instagram, his social media presence dictated his career. Nobody could tell him anything, and he literally prided himself on it, and it fucked him over. And I think that was breeded by the generation before that just not give a fuck attitude. So
Yeah, that's an interesting thought because trolling wasn't really a term, especially like in our childhood. Those guys we looked up to in the earlier 2000s, like 50 Cent, you said is a good example of he completely trolled, but it wasn't the term back then. But that's how he came up. Guys that we idolized growing up, listening to, and things like that. They didn't have that platform per se yet. This is pre Facebook. This was pre any of that stuff. But now, yeah, like you look at 6ix9ine, he like you said earlier, he was trolling to troll. Like he was going at Chief Keef's camp, and he was going at legit, gang members on the West Coast that were like telling him you can't come out and perform here and things like
Chief
that.
Keef, YG, like people he doesn't even really need to be beefing with, yo. Like
It just didn't even make sense. It's like Chief Keef's not really on your radar. They make very different kinds of music, and they're from different regions. I think he was just trolling to troll, like you said.
and it's dangerous too because like okay, in his specific situation, he got put in jail. But like he was playing such a dangerous game. I don't know how real these guys are. I don't know. I don't care to know because I'm not the one trolling them. But like, let's say if Chief Keef decided to really retaliate at this guy. Let's say if YG just really got sick of him talking, and the next time he came out to LA, he set him up somewhere. Like 6ix9ine was playing a very, 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 very dangerous game. And I don't even think he really, to this day, cares about it. Cares about the fact that he was playing such a risky game, just due to the fact that that game is what got him on. So like, I don't even think he considers it. That's why I said like, as he's sitting in jail, I don't think he realizes that. No, I think he realizes it. I take that back. But yeah, I just think he doesn't care about the fact that he's gonna sit there, might sit in there for the rest of his life due to what he did.
You
What
think
he
he
accomplished.
thinks in his mind that that was all worth it?
I think he does, to be honest. And I know that sounds crazy, because nobody wants. I don't think he's proud to sit in jail by any means. But like, as opposed to him being this rich and famous person sitting in jail, as opposed to being a normal broke person, I think he much rather be the rich and famous person sitting in jail. To be honest with you, I think that's where he is, as opposed to where he was. He's where he wants to be.
Yeah, and I mean it's not like a necessarily a new way of thinking. I'm sure Bobby Schmurder might have had a similar mindset. Maybe not now that he's closer to getting out, but
Yeah. I don't know. I think Bobby Schmurda, that because see, Bobby, I feel like he would have regretted it more because Bobby didn't get on by trolling. He
right,
just got caught up by investigation. You know, um,
right. It is a little different. He wasn't like going at people per se.
as opposed to 6ix9ine, he knew the game he was playing, and he was lucky enough to like make it out alive. But what he was able to reach, I think he is going to be able to hold on to the pride of that, and that's what's going to keep him sane through his jail time.
Do you think 6ix9ine could have made it on talent alone without all the gimmicks?
Um, yeah, and here's why. Um, when 6ix9ine came out, Gummo, It was Gummo. He came out. He had the colorful hair. He made a song. It was hard. Immediately, I didn't like it because he came off as a X clone. But X breeded a lot of people. He breeded Trippie Redd, Little Pump. You know what I'm saying? All of these guys that kind of like copied X. But like his song, that first song didn't get popular from him trolling. But he was able to avoid being a one-hit wonder by trolling. But I feel like he could have taken a different approach. What he should have did, I think, is found a solid fan base and worked that fan base like hell. Um, I feel like that's what X did. X really never, other than the fact that he trolled Drake, like I said that one time, X really worked his fan base to like follow him wherever he went, to like live and die by X, And like, if I have to say who's more beloved by the people between X and 6ix9ine, even post death, it's X. And despite the fact that 6ix9ine through his stuff was able to reach the top of the charts more times than X, I feel like is more beloved, and I think that's a similar direction that I feel like 6ix9ine could have taken.
Yeah, the funny thing is, like, kind of in retrospect, when those guys first kind of came out, and you kind of got to know their personalities a little bit, via social media, whatever. It's sad, but like the first thing that jumped into my head foreshadowing was if something bad, and God forbid anything would happen, if something was going to happen to these guys, I had it reversed. It seemed like X would be the one that was going to get locked up. And it was like, whoa, this Tekashi guy is out of control. He better watch it or he's not going to make it. And it was kind of scary. Like, you were rooting that they would never come to that. And then those scenarios are obviously flip-flopped, and it's tragic, but you could almost see it coming in one way or the other. I kind of had it flip-flopped. If something bad was going to happen, that's how it would look. And I don't know, it's a dangerous game when they exaggerate, too much, with social media and things like that. I do agree though that X, his working his fan base, like you said, I think if 6ix9ine would have come with that approach, I think he could have made it without the gimmicks too. And so, yeah, I think I agree with you on that.
One more thing. I'm chewing right now. I'm sorry, but that was a good point you made. If I were to a year ago, like a year ago, if I were to guess who would have died and who would have wound up in jail, I was sure that somebody was going to retaliate against 6ix9ine one of these times. Like, he was just out trolling, and like with everything that was happening with X, I thought he was going to be the one locked up. Now, God forbid, it get like you said, it was like totally switched around. And I agree with you 100%.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
And I think it was sad how things ended up, but it was just crazy to see the directions that they were going. I don't want to sound evil when I say this, because I never wanted anybody to die, but there was a part of me that wanted 6ix9ine to just kind of get checked in a way of like, in a way that would humble him, in a way that would humble him. And I guess jail is something that would humble him, but like that wasn't what I was thinking. And it's crazy, like when it came to testing somebody's gangster, why test the guy who was peaceful as opposed to the guy who was really, out here teasing everybody? And then like 6ix9ine is the one that got locked up. Yeah, like I just pretty much agree with you. Like it was just totally 180. Like I didn't think it was gonna happen the way it did.
Yeah, that's kind of how I read into it too, and it's just sad all around. But it just kind of sparked in my mind the way you said that too. It was I think it would be interesting, like you said. I think 6ix9ine, in some capacity, if he could have been humbled in some way, in maybe possibly a more constructive way, it's just like sad to think like what if like all that potential that was there. What would kind of be interesting, and I have no idea if this would work. It probably would not. But do you kind of remember when J. Cole sat down and did like an hour-long talk with Lil Pump? Like maybe having an OG or something sit down with 6ix9ine and get it like recorded, or do like a TV show like where they would just sit and talk, kind of like that LeBron show, The Shop. It would have been constructive and cool to see if that would have humbled him in any way. I don't know if it would really. He was pretty hard-headed, but just to have him talk to like an Ice Cube or something and just like sit down in a room and talk, it would have been really cool as a fan to see what would happen after that.
I feel like who would be a good person to like talk to him? Like I feel like J. Cole first is a good person to talk to anybody. He can sit down and talk to Little Pump, and Little Pump take a little bit away from it. I feel like 6ix9ine would have ultimately been able to get something out of it too. Even though I think Little Pump has slightly more of a business mind than 6ix9ine. But if it wasn't J. Cole, who do I think would be? Who do you think would be like a good person to sit down with 6ix9ine?
Yeah, I mean, it just would have been interesting. Someone that would have had like some kind of a positive mentorship kind of an influence on him. Maybe an OG like an Ice Cube or something like that, or maybe someone that's more from his area, like I don't know, who's like a old guy from New York.
Jay-Z.
Yeah, Jay-Z, or maybe even Rakim or someone way back or something like that. But Jay-Z probably makes more sense, but um that would have been really interesting to see how that conversation would have went.
Because see, the thing is that 6ix9ine did have mentorship sort of in 50 Cent, but 50 Cent I feel like was telling him literally all the wrong
The
shit.
thing, the thing that's wrong with that, like that could have been the mentor for him or whatever, but it wasn't a good pairing, like you said, because 50 Cent was kind of the old version of what 6ix9ine was, his same tactics to get on, being wild and stuff. It's almost like when Chief Keef went and signed with Gucci Mane when they were both still wild, and it was like that's probably not the best move because you need a different kind of mentor in your life right now. But he went down to 1017 or whatever, Brick Squad, and they're like, a lot of people are like, oh, this is a match made in hell right now. Like this is not what this kid needs right now. But if it would have been anyone besides 50 Cent, I think, yeah, like Jay-Z would have been really interesting to just get those two to sit down and him be like, look at all this business potential you could do. Look at how much you could grow your brand. And this is like, you could be a legend. Maybe it would have humbled him in a constructive manner. Maybe not. He was kind of a hard-headed dude, but it just would have been cool to see.
I feel like the boss of Jay-Z's character, because everybody knows who Jay-Z is. Jay-Z is also from New York. Um, I feel like I don't know how much I could say 6ix9ine was a Jay-Z fan, but like he knows Jay-Z is serious. He knows that he's like one of the richest in the game. I feel like I would hope that 6ix9ine would sit down and try to like soak up as much knowledge as he could. As far as we know, I think 6ix9ine never even met Jay-Z, so you know.
Right. I don't think they ever did. Yeah, something like that it's just theoretical. It would have been cool to see something like that because I really enjoyed that. I thought that interview with Pump and Cole was really interesting because who would have ever thought they would have actually sat down and talked? They're so different.
And it was cool because like two totally different like sides of hip hop. You know what I'm saying? Like two totally different sides.
And as kind of a fan of both, it was really fun for me. And I know you're a fan of both eras, like new and old. So it was just cool to see it kind of melding together in one video, in one conversation.
Yeah, because it wasn't just new and old. It was new, old, mumble, conscious. You know what I'm saying? It was a lot of different elements that was in waving, intertwining. I don't know how to say it. J. Cole's fans probably got a good kick out of it. Little Pump's fans got a good kick out of it, and then both camps got exposure to the other camp because of it. So I thought it was genius.
And the cool thing about that is like everything you said was, yeah, totally what happened. It was bridging the gap, like we used to say, and the common denominator was hip hop. Like it's very different, but the fans, whether you're a new school fan or a mumble rap fan or just strictly a conscious rap fan, it's all under one umbrella, and that's hip hop. So it was a common denominator that kind of tied it all together. And it was really cool because it reminded everybody, like, this is all the same genre still. This is all the same culture, even if it's completely different, because there are different variations in the culture of what it sounds like, what it looks like, who you follow, whatever.
And that's okay. You know, it's okay for it to be so different and diverse. And I think that's what's really going to make this culture last. You know, it's not a streamlined culture. I don't think any culture necessarily is, but it has so many elements to it that there's really no such thing as it ever getting old. It's just ever evolving. You know, so
Right. And as the years go by, hip hop's almost, what, 50 years old or close to that. Like, we're getting more vintage music in the culture, which is really cool. But, it's sustaining itself because it reminds me a lot of the business I'm in. It reminds me of the tech industry because it evolves so fast now, just like technology. Like, hip hop culture changes every year almost now. It's getting to that rapid growth. Like, it used to be like, oh, every decade's a little bit different. And then when we were growing up, it was like, oh, every 5 years it sounds a little bit different. Now it's like every year, every couple months almost, there's a new thing going on. So it evolves fast, like technology.
I totally agree with you. But with that said, it is going to be ever evolving. With that said, what do you think is going to be the evolution of like trolling and like all of that kind of a thing for an artist, whether it be trolling, memeing, whatever? Where do you see that going for the culture? Do you think more artists are going to follow the path of 6ix9ine or try to do a 6ix9ine? Do you think somebody is going to outdo 6ix9ine in that element, or do you think more people are going to be cautious because of what happened to him?
That's a good question. It's tough to predict. If I had to guess, I like in the next maybe one or two freshman classes, let's say, of what those kind of artists are how they're gonna attack trolling or use it or avoid it. I think there's gonna be a handful that do exactly what 6ix9ine did and learn nothing from it, but I don't think it's gonna be the majority. I think there's always gonna be a handful of guys that come up that same way. But I don't see it being a majority thing. I don't think it'll completely go away, but I think it's just going to be a handful of times we see artists falling into the same trap. I don't think it's going to be, I do think it's going to be ever present. I don't think memes and trolling is going to go away. It's only going to increase, but I don't think it's going to be to the extreme, at least in a majority sense for new artists. Let's say just like the freshman lists that come out, the next two or three, there's probably going to be a couple knuckleheads that do the same thing and get in trouble. I don't think it'll be like 6 out of 10 or anything crazy like that, but
I think I pretty much agree with you, man. I feel like people like 6ix9ine, he's an anomaly. I don't think everybody's going to do that necessarily. I think one day he will be outdone by some brave soul, and a lot of people are going to try to attempt it. But once they realize that their lives are a little bit more serious than what they can portray, following 6ix9ine, I think they'll wise up. The thing is, even with all of these methods of getting on, the most traditional way is the safest and the best for your long-term career, and that's just put out good content and share it, you know. So
yeah, I think oh, I thought that was a Keen texting for a sec. No, I agree. I don't think it would take too much for someone to outdo 6ix9ine. Like, they're gonna, I mean, whoever does that, it's not gonna be a pretty sight. But hey, if maybe that's their moment to get on top of the world and it's worth it, we're gonna see someone like that. It'll be interesting to see. I'm already looking forward to kind of the new wave. I know I kind of mentioned the freshman list that's coming out in June, so probably 5 months from now. It'll be interesting. I already kind of have a few artists on the radar that I've been tracking. A lot of times I do check out their social media just to see what they're up to. So it'll be interesting to see. It's so much easier and you have so much more access to your artists nowadays. So yeah, I guess we'll just see what kind of characters come in the next wave. But Yeah, hopefully there's not another 6ix9ine too soon.
I'm sorry, I didn't realize I was on mute.
Oh,
But I was saying like for people like Blueface, he doesn't have to copy the blueprint of 6ix9ine. Since he seems like the new like just hot spiraling artist, right?
what do you think of him,
Um,
by the way? I think I'm kind of a fan of Blueface.
man, he gets on my nerve to be honest, man. So okay, a lot of the guys out here that I went to a party recently and had a couple of them in the studio. They've opened up for Blueface, right? And like a lot of people know him. I actually my producer is in contact with Yike Mike, and that's Blueface's producer.
Okay.
Um, and I also follow him on Instagram too. And he it's interesting to see how like every other person you meet out here is like, oh yeah, Blueface. I went to school with him. I played football with him. It's interesting. Um, None of these guys really like him though. None of these, a lot of these guys really don't like him. First of all, because they feel like that whole offbeat rapping shit, the way he seems like he puts like no energy into his like art. These guys are putting bars and lyrics and like the flavor into their art, and they didn't get the same outcome as Blueface did, at least from what I see. So
Yeah.
like he gets plays in the club, everybody kind of likes it when it generally comes on, but like a lot of people actually think that he's sort of garbage out here. And I feel like that's where I sit. Like
That Tatiana remix with YG though, that shit goes hard.
yeah, I saw that. That was cool, and I thought that was dope. As a like, he's a slightly older like West Coast artist, just kind of getting on the song. YG killed it. Um, and it was just some nice shit. I saw that for sure. Um, and like the video is cool. His whole aesthetic is like very catchy, but like, damn, like like I don't want him to like come off as undermining what other people are doing. You know what I'm saying? Because there's a lot of people out here making noise. I went to that show. When I did that show, open mic, there was a lot of artists that I got in contact that were doing their thing that night. Then went to a couple of parties. Like there's a lot of people out here that are doing their thing, and for 6ix9ine to come, not 6ix9ine, damn, Blueface to come, and he's like just this, I don't know, like he's unenergetic. Like you could tell like he didn't put too much into making a song. It's more of his image that's being sold. That's why I said that he doesn't have to follow the blueprint of 6ix9ine, but that's sort of what I see him doing.
Yeah, and I think I agree. I think and I totally see where like a lot of the people you're talking to out there, how they get that feeling about him. He comes across as very like cocky and kind of arrogant. Uh I don't know. He does seem a little bit like he's not putting a whole lot into the craft. It is just kind of about. I think he just signed a big deal with Fashion Nova, that brand too, to be like a model or something.
Now
So
that's
like
smart. That's smart. I feel like he is making smarter moves than like somebody like 6ix9ine.
he is growing his brand, but he definitely comes across as like kind of cocky, and I can see why some people would get ticked off.
But it's cool to see. Other than that, like he does have anomalies like that. Yeah, that Tatiana song, the remix of YG is cool. Um, some of that other shit I can't get with. I know there was a couple of songs they were playing that was really cool. That little dance that he does is cool.
Oh yeah.
Um, that whole signature eye shit that he got, it's all it's him all the way to the T. Yeah, like everything is
he'll
really working for him.
he'll 100% be like the main freshman. I think come June, they'll kind of brand that
Ooh,
around him.
it'll be between him. It'll be between him and Juice Lord.
That's
Juice
right.
World. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yep. It'll be those two. I feel
Because
like
they have similar. There's something similar because like when Juice World came on, he came on hard, like overnight type shit. Blueface, I feel like he came on hard, but it wasn't his music that came on that hard. It was his like image antics that came on that hard. So
yeah.
it'll be between those two.
Yeah, I agree. The first time I heard about Blueface. It was because I think forgot what site it was, but there was just articles like this guy's selling out like every show on the West Coast. Like his live shows were just getting so many people to show up, and they're like, "Who is this guy?" And I had not heard of him yet, and they're like, "Yeah, he's selling out every show he does." And then I looked him up, and I'm like, "Oh, he'll be, he'll probably be in that next wave," and it's kind of just steamrolled from there. I think he was on Everyday Struggle today with academics. I think he was on there. I didn't watch it, but he was on there.
Yeah, I saw it. I saw. I think. How did I see it? I think I saw it on somebody's Instagram or something. But I saw that.
All
I
right.
didn't see the whole episode, but I saw that he was on there.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see what he does in the coming year, I guess, his kind of freshman year.
Yeah. All right, that's pretty much all I got.
Yeah, I mean, we won't go too much longer since Akeen's not here, but my topic's kind of shorter anyways, but let's just do it anyways. And it probably would go longer if Akeen was here because I know he'd have a lot to say on it. But basically what I was thinking about is like, so recently, I think it was like last weekend or the last week, I recently rewatched all three movies in the Godfather trilogy. That's my favorite movie series of all time, right? And it made me
I love
start.
Godfather.
Yeah. So that's my favorite movie of all time. They were the first one, but I watched all three. It took me a few days, because they're long. But I watched all three Godfathers, and it made me start thinking. It made me start thinking about the term mafia or mafioso rap because that's something that there's been concept albums about. You think of Jay-Z, Reasonable Doubt. He had like literally lines from Scarface opening up that album, like verbatim. You think of the Cuban Links album, Raekwon. That was like a whole mafia-esque rap. So like, what do you think about that? Like, because I was watching those old movies and I'm like, this had me thinking about that. Is that still a thing, or is it, they definitely have impacted the culture? Oh, you're on mute, bro.
Just to get some other albums out there, like Father, like Son,
Yep.
uh, Treflon Don, like just very like mafia inspired. Well, Rick Ross's whole like image is like kind of mafia inspired.
Yeah, his whole
Jay Z, of course,
thing.
all these people. Yeah, I love it, man. Um, the thing is, I think there's two cinema elements that impacted hip hop the most. But not cinema elements, but cinemas, movies in general, right? And whether that be I kind of lump it all together, but the Godfather trilogy and Scarface.
Yep.
I feel like and both of those feature what's his name?
Al Pacino,
Al Pacino.
my favorite actor.
Yeah. Um, it's interesting to see how much hip hop literally was inspired by those movies. I feel like like just what you said. I feel like a lot of hip hop was like just kind of like changed by the way the mafia. I feel like a lot of people tried to hold themselves to that image of mafiosos and crime lords and whatnot. It was very popular, like within the '90s and whatnot. People to wear like suits and everything,
Like Biggie
wear
would do
like.
that. He would wear like the full suit
Well,
with the fedora.
I was thinking about like Suge Knight,
Yeah.
like the people, the image, that boss image that's so popular, or at least somewhat popular, like today. I feel like was so much, I feel like so much of that came from like The Godfather and Scarface, and I think it's still pretty prevalent today. Not necessarily with the newer crowd, but like you know, every now and again you'll get people like um, you know, you'll get people like trying to get a good example. Good example.
Like yeah, I don't know, like I feel like just kind of the whole maybe in the newer wave it's not necessarily the image as much, but like when you think of like the character of Tony Montana and Scarface, you see like a video like Lil Pump when he's doing a skit and he's throwing money everywhere, and it's just get money, get money, get money. He's got tigers and mansions and pools, and
Okay, yeah, makes sense. Makes sense.
like that's Scarface right there.
And yeah, it's pretty cool to think about it, man. Um, I think some of the even for me, because like there was a time I was like one of my microaggressions, not aggressions, one of my micro obsessions, I should say, was getting into the mafia thing, and I was learning all of the terms like conciliary and caprozine, all of that stuff. I was just kind of like really getting into it a little deep, and I can see how it kind of changed my persona because, like, I don't know about you, I feel kind of badass after watching those kind of movies because I'm like,
Yeah.
oh man, like they don't even know how deep this mafia shit can get, and I know, and nobody else knows, type of shit.
Yeah, you
But
get so jacked watching it because it's so well put together. Like it's so organized and it's so there's so many levels to it, and then there's so much power, and it comes from outwitting. But then there's a lot of like
yeah,
muscle. There's a lot of muscle too, but it's just so organized. It's just like, damn, this is so intricate, and the power you just feel it.
real life chess game. Like it's very interesting to see like how like serious everything was treated in such of like in just everyday life, rackets, how you need to treat family, how people need to be, I can see how that can rub off on hip hop when it comes to creating personas and stuff like that. So
Yeah, and I think yeah, a lot of the lessons learned from those movies too about just kind of the rise, the fall, coming from greed and things like that. It's such an element in hip hop. You could compare totally 6ix9ine, his rise and fall, to like exactly the same. It was all as like a Tony Montana because it was all greed. Like if he didn't know when to stop, and that ended up being his demise.
that seems to be the case with a lot of like careers like that. Um, I feel like everybody starts off humble as hell, and then like to an extent, everybody loses their mind, after they get that first $1 million. You can't really tell them anything past that because like they're richer than they ever thought they would ever become, So, and with the
Yeah,
personas created by these movies and how these guys like act and played up what they already had, like Tony Montana, he had a tiger, a pet tiger, right? Now it's like now, how do I outdo having a pet tiger? I don't know. Somebody's probably gonna try to have like a pet lion or some shit now, like. And it's interesting to see how a lot of the things that has happened in hip hop derived from these movies. So,
and I think like what a lot of the artists relate to is just kind of like the come up when they are nobody and then they blow up, like just like all the characters in those movies. It was all about coming up and gaining that power from nothing. I think they relate to that, and then they just feel like that's me. I'm that character.
for sure, man. And then what was I gonna say? I feel like it was cool to see like I think it rubs off kind of well on hip hop in a way because hip hop needed a way to kind of like make itself look like, I don't know, give it a certain mystique. But I feel like because of movies like Godfather, uh, all of those kind of movies, and also it contributes to Boys in the Hood and everything. It kind of left hip hop in this need to be gangster state. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean there definitely are downsides to it because obviously a lot of things portrayed in those movies were not good. There's a lot of violence, immoral things, whatever, illegal activity, and some people took it too seriously. Obviously, 6ix9ine did. So, like, you can't. They say like in the movie, the world is yours, but then he took it too far.
Yeah, yeah. I'm my brother's keeper and all that stuff. It's interesting too because like okay, I think it started with like The Godfather, um, eventually kind of converted over to Scarface, But then I think those movies had influence on movies like New Jack City, um,
King of New
what
York.
King of New York, Pain and Fool type movies, Boys in the Hood, kind of, sort of, not necessarily actually, but like that movie kind of impacted the culture in a different way. But all of those movies kind of like contributed to making this need to be gangster persona that everybody is kind of like subscribing to, you know.
That's another one too, though. You mentioned New Jack City. Like those movies did influence that movie, and then like Wesley Snipes' character of Nino Brown. That was again another character that you could point to or relate to in terms of coming up and gaining power.
For
So
sure, 100%.
and yeah, and then even more recently, like stuff like Paid in Full or the Wire, the TV show. Like they they all kind of are related in terms of like the relation to coming up for artists. But like I don't know, it's just interesting because like there's so many literal lines that are borrowed from those movies. Clips from those movies are played in songs and things like that, and there's definitely an appreciation for it that probably will be there forever because a whole generation of rap artists were so inspired by that movie, both cult classics, or I mean cinema classics in general now, but like it's interesting because like entire albums and careers were made off of that image. That was Jay-Z's entire first album was literally Scarface themed throughout. Even on the cover art, he had the hat and the cigar. So like he's always kind of had that boss image. Ross definitely adopted that. Even new artists like in some music videos, you see Drake, suited up with a cigar or whatever. Not everyone, but like here and there, it always comes back.
Yeah, it's definitely something that it's a mainstay, man. I think I don't smoke, I don't commit crimes or anything, but like even I would think that it would be really really cool to have like a photo shoot with a cigar and a suit that implies that I'm this high ranking member of the mafia or something like that. Like the mystique of it is very entertaining to watch and interesting to see. So
I could see that'd be a good look for your album.
I might think about it, man. I'm out. I've joined the mafia, man, out here, man.
That's what's up. All
That is
right.
not what's up, but okay.
Yeah, I mean, that's all I really had to say on it. I thought it was just a cool thing to at least acknowledge. It's definitely an influence that we see in hip
Yeah,
hop.
Akeem would have had a field day with this one. So this is
Oh
it's,
yeah, I
it's
know
his
he's a
fault for
big
coming.
a big fan of that genre of movie.
Yeah, that mafioso. Yeah.
Yeah, I might have to get
Oh,
his ass over here to watch Scarface.
yeah, no doubt.
All right, I guess we can wrap it up. I know you got places to be, but we are coming back with a new title. We won't announce it yet until our third member is on the show. He was not here today. That's all right. But we're going to rebrand a little bit, and we'll have a new place to host some of these old videos too. Probably is going to be Facebook, but we will explain more next time. So within a week or 2 weeks, you'll know everything. So that's it. I guess we can wrap it
That's
up.
it. And stay tuned, man. Like Drew said, we're gonna be more present on the social media platforms as opposed to just letting it kind of sit on YouTube, man. We just have to get some things together.
Yep. So look out for that. We're probably going to repost a lot of this stuff. Hopefully, we'll get some more views from retrospective viewers. What was I going to say about that too? Yeah, I mean, we'll probably be back in a week, so you'll see more, and then we'll have links to where you need to go.
Right on.
Alrighty, that's going to do it for the alumni. So we'll be back with a new name and new content in a week. Peace, y'all.
Peace. I love all two of y'all.
All two of y'all. Oh, wait, one more thing before we go. One more thing before we go. I was just about to turn it off. Dolo's album, Freshman Year, drops on
Oh
February
man,
1st. Don't forget it.
that's this Friday. It's dropping this Friday, so look out for that, man. It's gonna be on SoundCloud, and it's gonna be coming on to Spotify at a later date, but it'll be on SoundCloud on the first. So
And it definitely will go everywhere you need to be to get access to it will be on our Facebook page for the new show with the new title. Freshman year will be all over that too, so you don't have to look far.
Right on, right on. All right, y'all. Peace.
All right, we'll wrap it up. Peace, y'all.